You're listening to the Fierce Fatty Podcast, episode 164. What would you say to someone who claimed you are promoting the O word? Let's do it!
Perfect.
Hello and welcome to today's episode. We have some exciting news. You glorious, gorgeous human being, you. We have got to my first Ko-fi income goal of $680, which is enough to produce 1 month of Fierce Fatty podcast, advert free. Now it's taken a few months to get there, and honestly, I'm surprised that people want to donate on Ko-fi. I'm like, oh, what? This is cool. And we got to the goal with $680. Amazing. Thank you so much. I love you. You're amazing. I've said amazing and awesome probably too many times there. And so I've come up with a new goal. The new goal is 6 months worth of podcast episodes. Ooh, that's $4,080, which seems audacious. But you know what? I'm going to sit in that audacity. I'm going to be audacious. And I've added two new things to the doobly-doo to the tiers. So tier 1 is the same. You get the size diversity resource guide, which is fantastic. But tier 2, you also get the Fierce Fatty science spreadsheet with an overview of science, fat weight science, and it has like the year it was published, the link to the study, an overview of the study, and what categories it will fall into. There's not all of the weight science in the world in there, because if I gave you that, then it would be overwhelming and horrible, and I don't even have it myself. But I do have a spreadsheet where I have loads and loads and loads more science, but I don't know, if people want that, they can have it, but I think one which is more clear and concise is better. Anyway, that's what you get for the tier 2. So tier 1 is $5 a month, tier 2 is $10, tier 3 $20. You will get all of those things, plus you'll get a handwritten note from me in the post social media shout out. You get that on tier 2 actually, and you'll get a thing in the post as well, which is, I'm showing it on the video. It's a double-sided postcard. One side says fat liberation is the future. The other side says this is a fat positive space. I'm gonna frame one of mine because I think it looks good. Yeah. So if you want to have a little thing, it's on card, so it'll be nice to frame. It's nice that. Took ages to get it printed. Well, I say ages, like 10 days, but like ages, months, 10 days. Yeah, so some little extra perks there for you. If you're already a subscriber, I sent you an email with extra stuff, so you can get that so you don't miss out. All right. So if you want to go donate, Ko-fi, it's in the show notes, KOFI/Fierce Fatty in the show notes. If you want the links to anything we're talking about today in the episode, the podcast episode is 164. So that's Fierce Fatty 164. Or you can always do Fierce Fatty /podcast to find the most recent version. So today we've got listener questions. If you have a question about the show, feel free to email me. Feel free to send me a message on the Instagrams. Put a shout out saying who's got questions. Who's got questions? And we've got some cool ones. KEWLLLL, cool ones. So let's do it. Let's go through the questions. First question is, hi, Vinny. I really appreciate all of the labor you invest in the pro-fat movement. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm currently experiencing a health issue and I'm losing weight. Sorry to hear that about your health issue. Of course, everyone wants to praise it. Boo. Do you have any recommendations for ways fat people can respond that make someone think about why they're praising weight loss without knowing the whole story? Snarky is welcome. Okay, this is a great question. And I think this as well can be helpful for people who have any types of comments about their body. Like if people are like, you've put on weight, or people just sometimes, depending on the culture and the age and where you are, people can just as an automatic just comment about your body. In Ireland, all of my relatives will say, you look well. And I interpret that as you look pretty or thin or not sick, or I've always when I was younger, I was always interpreted it as you look thin. But they say it all the time to everyone, so I know they don't actually mean it. It's just a saying, right? But anyway, some people will have a lot of people who do talk about their weight. But in this case, someone has lost weight unintentionally, and people are like, "Oh my God, you lost weight! Congratulations!" Which must, if that happened to me, it would get on my flaps something chronic. So here's some little one-liners. I love that you mentioned snarky is welcome. Okay. So imagine someone says, oh my God, you've lost weight. You look amazing. You could say, I'm losing weight because I am sick. I know you don't mean to praise my ill health, but you are. And of course, change any words that you want, because you didn't say sick, you said health issue. Or you could just say, I am sick. I have a health issue. See what they say. They'll be like, oh, I bet. This is what I reckon. Someone's going to be like, oh no, I'm sorry about that. Well, at least there's a positive side effect. You look amazing. And then I would be like, well, I actually really like being fat. And I can't wait until I put weight back on, hopefully, if I get better. And see, they're kind of like, that's the computer brain going, I don't understand. You know that meme? That woman with all the I don't know who it is. It's like a white middle-aged lady with loads of like calculus math stuff around her head, looking confused. Yeah. Okay, what else you could say is, weight loss for me is a sign that there is something wrong. Another one. It's strange that you monitor my body size. It's not okay to comment on people's weight. I'm curious, why do you think me losing weight is a good thing? My approach would be more kind of like asking them a question. That's always my response. Like, what do you mean? I look thinner. Do you think that being thinner is a good thing? And see them be like, or whatever they say. They could say yes. And you could say, well, I don't agree with you, actually. Okay. Next, I am uncomfortable that you are talking about my body. Can you not? So weird. Imagine talking about someone's body. You can imagine. This has happened to you many a times. Next, do you know why I have a smaller body right now? And they'll say, I don't know, tell me, what have you been doing? Keto? Atkins? Herbs up your vag? And you'll say, no, actually, it's because I have a health issue. Please think twice before praising weight loss. Next, you do realize that people lose weight outside of being committed to anti-fat bias, right? My weight loss is not intentional. I hope I stay fat forever. I love being fat. I have a picture on my wall that says, I hope I'm fat forever. Love it. Next one. Why do you think that me having a smaller body is important or noteworthy? Do you think that is something that is important to me? Next, why are you praising weight loss, especially as I haven't brought up my weight? So you have no idea why I've lost weight. It's because of an illness, FYI. I really hope I feel better soon and put my weight back on. Being fat is awesome. It makes me sad that you think I am better / more attractive, etc., because my body is smaller. You could also say, if someone's like, oh my God, have you lost weight? You can be like, yeah, I know. It's so sad that I've lost weight. This gorgeous, fatty body is shrinking away and I don't like it. I'd probably do something like that, being like, over the top, being like, I know, oh my goodness, I need to get back to that gorgeous, more plump body, that more zaftig, gorgeous, glorious body of mine. I hope I get back there. And they'll be like, huh? Oh? I don't understand. And obviously all of these depend on who is saying it, whether you've got the time to give the fucks of even engaging them, because you don't have to. You could just be like, bah, or change the subject. Or I would probably have like a nice one-liner that I like. So if someone says, have you lost weight? I'd be like, I love being fat and I hope I don't lose any other weight. But I mean, that might not be your experience. You might be having like other feelings. And so, whatever you're thinking. But I was thinking about this, how cool it is that you're having this, not how cool it's that you're having this issue of people doing that, but how your brain is reacting to it. Your brain is saying, I don't like that. Whereas previously, I know a lot of people, and a lot of people still, hearing someone say, have you lost weight, is the most beautiful music to our ears in the past. I know for me, someone saying, have you lost weight? They might as well be saying, Vinny, I think you are the best living human on the planet. I think that you are gorgeous, sexy, attractive, successful, all of the wonderful characteristics that a human can have. You're clearly hardworking, and I think that maybe you should probably be a millionaire because the amount of hard work that you've put into becoming thin. You are basically a god walking among humans because you have a smaller body. Like, that's what it feel like. Like, yes, I have lost weight. Oh, I know stuff. I know I am gorgeous. Even though you're probably like, I haven't lost enough weight, and that the weight's going to come back. But not having that reaction. Like, if someone said to me, have you lost weight? I would be like, whoa. I wonder if my initial reaction, if my brain would go to, oh, people think you're thinner. Oh, that means that they think you're more attractive. If my, that anti-fat stuff that likes to lurk around will jump in and be like, yes, bitch, I'm thin. When... And then my rational pro-fat brain will be like, hang on a minute. We don't like that. What are you talking about? And I'm sure probably everyone has some type of mixture of that, well, depending on where they're at in fat liberation, but probably not having that positive feeling from mentions of weight loss if you are someone living in a bigger body is probably quite normal and regular, right? And seeing that shift from, I don't want this, that's really cool to see. So, so with these things, just a reminder, right now, you're probably relaxed, right? Listening to my sultry tones. And you're probably like, yeah, man, next time someone says that, I'm going to be like, kapow, take this, bitch. Here's my really sassy response. And then in the moment, as your heart is beating fast and your breathing quickens because of that, and your brain is like, oh my God, it's happening. And your brain's like, you better start running or whatever. You probably are not going to be able to access that, peak sassiness or peak perfection of a response. You probably just might mumble out something like, thanks, because our brains are kind of not as helpful in stressful situations. And that's why, sometimes I do like asking questions of like, what do you mean by that? I don't understand. So that I can kind of get myself together. But if you just need to tell someone to fuck off, then you have my permission, okay? Okay, next question. This is a short one. Tips for fat allyship. What's helpful and what's not? Okay, so cool. Love it that you asked this question. Don't know if it's a straight size person who asked this question, but love it. I'm going to read a little quote from nylon.com, which is an article that says beauty. Oh, no, it's not beauty. That's the section. What is the role of an ally to the fat community? Okay, quote. Not everyone is on board with the topic of thin allies. The fat community has been burned many times by those who claim to support but rather take up space and erase voices, particularly those of black women, from the conversation. Seeing this happen across identities, Deshaun Harrison, who we all know is the writer of Belly of the Beast, and also an editor at Wear Your Voice mag, soon to be author of Belly of the Beast, not soon anymore, says they, quote, don't actually believe in allyship. In my experience, these people are less committed to marginalized people's liberation and more committed to performing a sense of camaraderie to the marginalized group, but for their own personal gain, Harrison explains. In a perfect world, Harrison would define a thin ally as someone who is, quote, really understanding and interrogating how fatness interacts with anti-blackness, a topic that requires extensive research. Fatphobia itself is driven from racism, dating far back to the days of slavery, when the black body was ridiculed yet over-sexualized in closed corners by powerful white men. Quote, the reason why we look at bodies the way we do is because racism, anti-fatness, and ableism, Harrison adds. We need to eradicate those things because the issue with your body are predicated on having issues with being black, being disfigured, being fat, or being disabled. I think that that's really interesting to think about is Deshaun saying that in their experience, people are less committed to marginalized people's liberation and more committed to performing a sense of camaraderie to the marginalized group for their own personal gain. And I really like to think about that because that's so sticky, isn't it? Oh, that's so sticky. And you're like, oh, look at me. I'm such a great person because I donated to this person, this charity or whatever. Maybe I should tweet about it. Maybe I should let everyone know that I am a great person. It's really hard not to be performative and not to get a sense of self-esteem from being like, oh, I'm so fucking radical and amazing. I'm such a good person. But I wonder. This is such an interesting concept to think about, like motivations for wanting to be an ally to people who have marginalized identities that you don't share. Is that self-serving nature that we all have? Is that something that's inevitable? Because I think, we do this work because we think it's right? And we think I don't know about you, but I think it's right. And also, I want to see a world where there's more equity. And is that because of selfish reasons? I don't know. Probably at some part and probably not in some part. And probably I do want to be seen as a good person. Like how when someone who is racist, who, when someone says you're racist and they're like, oh, I'm not racist. And they will like run themselves in circles to claim that they're not racist because really what they're trying to say is I'm not a bad person. Because we want people to think that we're good people, Anyways, this is all side tangent to like how to be fat ally. But I think it's important to think about when you're being an ally to anyone of, is this actually helpful or is it not? And I don't have the answers for all of these questions because fat people are not a monolith, and some things that could be helpful for me might not be helpful for other people. And also to recognize that I am a white, medium fat person who is not physically disabled. And so I have this privilege. And so some things I'm like, that's fine. Don't worry about that. Someone else who doesn't have the same privilege that I have will be like, that's the worst fucking thing that ever you can do. But anyway, saying all that, blah, blah, bloop, bloop, here are some ideas for you. Okay. I did a whole episode on this. What was it? It was episode, I'm finding it for you, 84. Oh my goodness. Are we on 184? No, we're on 160 something. So 84, how to be a fat ally. And there's 33 practical ways to be a fat ally in this installment, I said in the show notes there, but here are some of those 33. So, if you invite us somewhere, make sure it's accessible. So if we're going for lunch, dinner, whatever, no booths, chairs without arms, not a million flights of stairs, things like that. And this is getting easier and easier because lots of places are thinking about these things. I went to a game place. Oh, could not believe it. Love it. With my two friends and a new friend. Of us, there was one straight-sized person. So straight-sized person and his husband is fat, I'm fat, and then the new friend is fat. Straight-sized person, he made the booking. And he said, we need this larger table. And actually the company had a thing on their booking thing saying, what accessibility needs do you have? I've never seen that before. I literally was shitting my pants with excitement hearing about this when I was like, oh, we've got a big table here with these chairs and this other group have a smaller table. That's kind of funny. And then he said, oh yeah, they had that when we were booking. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I was just like, hey, straight ally, thinking about it. And he's got a fat husband, right? So he's in it and he knows. And they had been to that place before and it was a real tight squeeze because they had a booth. So thinking about those types of things of, is it accessible? I want to see my friend. Is it just tiny little bar stools, booths which don't have a table that moves? Booths might be okay if the table's moved. A lot of times they're bolted down. Tiny little chairs, like fashion chairs, which are like, have the capacity to hold a pea or something, and so, like say if I go out with Summer Innanen, friend of the show, Summer Innanen, she's doing the same type of work, but she is straight-sized. And she will always say, you pick the chair that you want to sit in. How is this for you? She will look at the images of the restaurant before we go. And she'll always check in with me. And I'm just like, fucking love you, Summer. Amazing. So yeah, that's something you can do. Or you can just say to your fat friend, is this place okay for you? And, in case you don't know what that might look like. Also, when you're with us, try and think about our experiences. So, for example, like being cognizant of how fat folks can feel in a group activity. Say if you go on a hike and you're enjoying the hike and, depending on the fat person and your relationship with them, they might not want to say anything. They might be, being like, I need a break, but I don't want to say anything because I don't want to be the fat person who doesn't need a break. And then, the thin people are like, oh, I need a break. But, the fat person's not even asking for a break. So we shouldn't have a break because, we should be fitter than the fat person. Everyone's probably like, oh, I'm fucking tired. And you saying, hey, everyone, let's have a break. Amazing. Love it. And, staying with the person who's at the back, whoever it is, right? Just last weekend, I went to a meetup group, queer Irish meetup group here in Vancouver. It was so funny. Went to a coffee shop and my neighbor, he was there, and he was at a meetup group too. And it was all men with huge beards. And I said, what are you doing here? Are you here for the big beard meetup group? And he's like, funny you should say that. It's actually the Radical Pixies meetup group. I don't know what that was, and then I said, well, I'm here for the fucking Radical Queer Pixies. And I said, I'm here for the Irish queer meetup group. And he says, oh, you're the leprechauns with the pixies. It's kind of funny. Anyway, you might be like, that was not fucking funny at all, Vinny. What are you talking about? Anyway, so registered for this new group, and then then we're going to go for a walk. I live, where I am is at the top of the hill. So we're walking down this big hill. And people were practically, in my perception, running down this hill. And I'm right at the back. And I'm literally shouting, slow down. Can we slow down, please? And no one turned around to look. And I was like, blimey, like, why are we going so fast? And people are like, oh, this is not fast. And I am a fast walker, right? I've got, long, sexy legs. I walk fast. Walking fast is not a trait which is something to be proud of. Just to say that even if I was a slow walker, but they were going mad fast. I happened to look at my clock and I was like, oh shit, I need to go call my mum. So I was like, okay, bye, see you later. I'm going to go home, call my mum. So I had to walk back up this hill. Ugh. But I didn't know we were going to go for a walk because, I went with an Irish friend, and so I didn't know what was happening. And before, I might have been more nervous if I had known that we were going for a walk. I thought we were just going for a coffee. But, something like that. Oh, a walk. How can that not be accessible? If I didn't have to call my mum, I think I probably would have just stopped and walked away. Because I was like, they are not thinking about intersectionality. They're not thinking about fat people. And then and then they were like, oh, we do, in the coffee shop, they were like, we do lots of sports together. And I was like, oh, I like sports, right? But is it going to be, I don't know if I can trust them. Because there was one other fat person, but I don't know if they are trustworthy thin people. Because I don't know if they're into dieting. I don't know if they're doing sports because they're into being thin, or if they're doing sports like how I would do sports for fun, And there's no reason to. If you want to engage in sports because you want to engage in and health promoting activity, that's fine too. But when you are with someone and that they're engaging in movement in a really unhealthy way. I've had friends like that. Like one friend, she would always be like, let's not sit down when we get our coffee. Let's go for a walk. And she'd always want to walk for hours. Literally, she would spend her whole day walking. And I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling this. Anyway, so just think about the fatties. I'm not saying that all fat people are slow. The fat people could be at the front of the pack, but just thinking about everyone in any type of activity. And it doesn't have to be a physical activity, but, just thinking about how other people might experience that activity. Next, don't use the O words. Just don't. That sucks. If anyone talks shit about fat people, shut them down. You have way more privilege in your body size if you're straight size than a fat person to talk about this stuff, and other straight size people will listen to you more likely than they would. They more likely would poo-poo a fat person and be like, oh, well, it's because you're fat, you're saying that. But if you say, hey, that is not okay, that would be amazing. And, fat people don't have to be present for you to say, hey, that's not okay. And when you're doing that, do not pull out good fatty tropes, which is, oh, hey, fat people can't help being fat. Fat people, they're trying to lose weight, or even ones that can sound like they're helpful. Hey, fat people are healthy too, Again, but hey, fat people are healthy too. Well, what if fat people aren't healthy? Because there are many fat people who are not healthy, same way there's many straight-sized people who are not healthy. Does that mean that those fat people are not due respect and belonging? What if a fat person likes being fat? What about then? So trying to avoid the good fatty, bad fatty tropes of, oh, fat people can exercise and fat people can... And I know it's about, you wanting to educate other people, but basically what we're trying to say to people who are anti-fat is fat people deserve respect. Fat people deserve to be alive, like, no matter what type of fat person they are. Even if they're like a mean fat person, And this is, like the same, a lot of times liberal people, the way that they talk about fatness is really unhelpful. So, for example, like if you think about Donald Trump, and the thing that people go to is his looks. He's fat. Oh, this isn't the worst thing ever. Oh my God, he's a fat person and he's a president. How can a president be fat? Oh, it's terrible. Hang on a minute. Does his fatness make him a bad... No, his absolutely dog shit personality makes him a bad person. Not his body size. That's got nothing to do with anything. So anyway, so let's not engage in that type of stuff. At work, talk about including size discrimination in diversity training. Get me in to do size discrimination stuff in diversity training. Shut down diet talk. If you have uniforms, ask for uniform sizes to be expanded, that it's not acceptable to just ask women to wear men's uniforms. When and if wellness initiatives roll out, contact the organisers and tell them how this is super harmful. Wellness initiatives like let's walk a marathon and let's lose weight and shit. Don't just ignore fat comments and jokes. Report that shit to HR. Shut it down if possible. I say if possible because it might be your boss, and so you might not be like, it might be the CEO who's like, hey, fat people suck, and you'd be like, excuse me, you're fired. But you could report it to HR. Remove magazines that have weight loss stories from the break rooms. Asks for larger chairs if there is, lack of chairs, or if the chairs are bolted down to the floor. Is the break room safe for fat people to eat lunch? Are there signs up about Weight Watchers meetings or things about how to eat healthy? Make sure that the workplace isn't overcrowded so that fat people can get around without having to negotiate obstacles. Pay fat people. Oh, you know what? How you can pay fat people? Go to my Ko-fi and donate to me. I'm a fat person. So what's not helpful? Talking about your bad body image and seeking counsel from a fat person unless you are paying them. A lot of fat people will say, you know what? My thinner friend who is ever so slightly chubby, or not even chubby, keeps talking to me about how awful they look and how disgusting they are. And I'm like, hello, can you not see who you're talking to about this? And a lot of times straight-sized people will do this because the fat person is safe. The fat person is there to counsel them and tell them, no, you're not fat and disgusting. You're not like me. I'm the real fat, disgusting person. You're beautiful. And, straight-sized people a lot of times don't do that same thing to people who they perceive as more attractive to them. So if you find yourself doing that to a fat person, stop it. Telling us about this new store that is super inclusive. Turns out the store is not inclusive and it only goes to size 3X. So critical thinking of, a lot of times people are like, oh my God, have you heard about this thing or whatever? And it's like, yeah, I'm in the fat lib world. Like I know about it. Or, have you heard the Old Navy carry plus sizes? And you're like, I've got a lot to say about that. I know all about it. And so, yeah, not getting fat people excited that there might be a new inclusive clothing store. If you don't know what it's like to be in that fat body, not presuming that clothes are going to fit or that they're super stretchy, because they're probably not going to fit. Not being radical with your fat activism. So challenging yourself of, am I thinking about fat activism and thinking, oh, it's acceptable to be fat, but only a certain amount of fat. Any more than an hourglass figure, that's a bit too fat. But, a lot of people were like, yeah, but what about those people which are 600 pounds? They're the bad fat ones. I can get behind you because you're acceptably fat. Are you having thoughts like that? If so, work on that stuff. And also not acknowledging your size privilege regularly. And it doesn't need to be like, hey, everybody, hi, friends. By the way, I'm thin and you're not. It can just be like, oh, yeah, so that must be really difficult. And, especially someone like me, being a straight-sized person, I don't have to deal with the same marginalization and discrimination that other people in larger bodies do. Me saying that I'm a white person. So you know how I will say, hey, I'm a white person, or I'm a medium fat person, or whatever, I will just bring it up because I want to acknowledge how things are different for me, right? As in, it's easier for me. And so if you're doing that, it would be amazing. And if you're not, then I'm suspicious. I'm suspicious. I was just talking to someone about, getting to know straight-sized people, and presuming this person I was talking to was saying, it's a client saying, making the presumption that someone who is straight-sized didn't have a nice personality and wasn't fat positive. And what could they do to let you know that they're a safe person? And talking about, like, what if they had a little badge on them saying death to diets or something like that, and then all of a sudden you can be like, whew, okay, they're a safe person within reason, right? They might be, who knows, but we know that they're probably not going to be like, hey, have you heard about the cabbage diet or whatever? Yeah. So that is the answer to that question. And again, these are just ideas, and some of them, some people might say, that's not helpful, Vinny. I am a fat person and I don't agree with you, and that's absolutely valid. Everyone's experiences are different. But you know what could be really helpful? It's just to ask the fat people in your life, what can I do to help? How can I use my privilege? What would be helpful or what wouldn't be helpful? Especially if you've got fat people in your life that you love. Okay, the next question is, what would you say to someone who claimed you are promoting the O word? Oceanishanty. Yeah, I'm not good at finding a rhyme with... I'm trying to find a rhyme for the O word. Increasingly. It's really not a good rhyme. Anyway, what would you say to someone who claimed that you're promoting the O word? So this is a zinger that the right-wing people love to say is, you're promoting the O word. You're promoting fatness. They say the O word. So let's dissect this phrase. Like, what are they saying? When someone says you're promoting the O word, what are they trying to say? So here are some of my ideas. They're trying to say you are promoting something that is bad. You are telling people to be unhealthy and encouraging them to die. You want people to be lazy and make excuses and be losers. You are jealous of attractive people and hate them and think everyone should be forced to date and have sex with a fat person. You're telling other people to be fat and encouraging more fat people to exist. You shouldn't be happy at your size, as I'm not happy at my size, and that makes me mad. You can be satisfied when I work so hard to be smaller, unsuccessfully. You should feel shame. So that's what I hear when I hear that phrase. You're promoting O word. So let's go through each one of those. Like, first one, you are promoting something that is bad. Well, I don't agree that fatness is bad. If someone says to me, you're promoting O word, well, what do you mean? You think that it's bad to be fat? Yes. I don't agree with you that it's bad to be fat. Next one, you're telling people to be unhealthy and encouraging them to die. So I don't think that someone is bad for being unhealthy. Health is a complex topic. If someone wants to engage in health promoting behaviors that you think are acceptable, then that's fine by me and none of my business. If someone wants to engage in health promoting behaviors that you don't think are acceptable, then that's fine by me, none of my business. So, if you're like, well, I need to see fat people, going on a run and eating a salad. What happens when fat people go on a run and eat a salad? Oh, you're just faking it. You never go on a run and eat a salad, you fucking faking liar. So, but what if someone wants to engage in health promoting behaviors that you don't think are acceptable? Like, I don't know, going to the doctor or talking to a therapist or not using guns, things like that. Again, that's none of my business and is fine by me. If someone isn't interested in pursuing health, whatever that means, that's fine by me and is none of my business. I know other people's health is none of my business. But you, person who is saying you're promoting should be, you don't seem to have that same understanding that other people's health is not your business. Do healthy people not deserve to be alive or be visible? I think fat people deserve to be alive and be visible. So I'm promoting unhealth, ill health. Your health has got nothing to do with me. It's not my business. I don't see how that one works. Next one. You want people to be lazy and make excuses and be losers. But think about lazy. I do think that people should work less and rest more. All people, because laziness is white supremacy, puritanical, morality, capitalism, all rolled up into one. And we work too hard and we need to rest more, I think. But again, if you think that you should work 27 million hours a day or work 0 hours a day, guess what? None of my business. And I don't get to say that you shouldn't do this or that, right? Being fat doesn't make someone lazy. Laziness is a myth. There's a really awesome book, Laziness is a Myth. You should check it out. Fatness doesn't make people losers. Intolerance and judgment makes someone a loser, in my eyes. So you want people to be lazy and make excuses. So a lot of times when I hear this phrase, it's like you want to support people, quote, giving up. A lot of fat liberation is really hard work. And really what we're doing is tremendously difficult. It's a tremendously difficult act for an individual to do. And I think people have to work really, really hard to unlearn anti-fat bias. So personally, I don't think that people are giving up. It's the opposite. But I'm not, on the other hand, if people don't work hard at this stuff and they just casually jump into it, whatever, I don't care about that either, It's got nothing to do with me. The next one. You are jealous of attractive people and hate them and think everyone should be forced to date and have sex with a fat person. You're right. I am jealous of the privilege that thinner people have. However, I know it's a systemic issue. Smaller bodied people are also hurt due to anti-fatness. I don't, however, agree that only smaller bodied people are attractive, although society as a whole doesn't align with my beliefs. I think fat bodies are countercultural, cool, and are made of waves and honey. And I don't think fat phobes should be having sex with fat people. We are way too special for you to see our spirits. So when I say I'm jealous of their privilege, I'm not really jealous of their privilege. I'm frustrated that society is so binary in its thinking about what is an acceptable body. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's jealousy. It's more kind of frustration, because I think jealousy would mean that I would want to have a smaller body, and I don't care if I have a smaller body or a bigger body. I like having a bigger body, but if I woke up in a new life and I had a smaller body, I wouldn't be like, curse you, smaller body. So it's not the body, it's the systemic issues that I have a problem with. Next, you're telling other people to be fat and encouraging more fat people to exist. So more fat people existing is not a problem. I would never tell anyone what they should do with their body, and so I'm not telling people to be fat or thin or anything. Fat people exist, they always have, and they always will do. Shaming them will not make them go away. Shame doesn't align with my personal values, and so I don't want to shame people for their body size, especially because I don't think that there's anything shameful about being fat. I'm simply trying to make the world a place where fat people are not excluded and shamed at every junction. I want fat people to be treated with dignity and equality. Like, I think about that, what is this phrase? Like, what is this? It's a lot of judgment, right? It's a lot of shaming. It's a lot of moralizing. It's a lot of I know better, you're doing something bad. And if someone did actually say this like to my face and they were curious, you know, versus just being a troll, I would say, I'd be really curious about, you know, how does that make you feel to say that fat people shouldn't be allowed to exist? Like, what are your values as a human? And I think most people will say, you know, like, my values are things like kindness and empathy and la la la. And then they're going back, like, does that align with your values? Some people might be like, I don't know what my values are, but, what is it important to you to be as a human? Because I think underneath, I don't know, maybe I'm being too generous in spirit to these people, but I think underneath that, if they really thought about it, a lot of people would say, actually, you know what, I think I should just stop being a dick to fat people, because actually what it is that I'm angry about something else, and fat people are an easy target for me. And it makes me feel good, it makes me feel superior because I don't have a fat body, because my self-esteem has been damaged in other ways. That's what I really think is going on, right? But, you know, some people maybe are just dickheads. Okay, next. You shouldn't be happy at your size, as I'm not happy at my size, and that makes me mad. You can be satisfied when I work so hard to be smaller, unsuccessfully. So to that, I would say, I am so sorry that anti-fat bias has tricked you into thinking that having a smaller body is the only route to body satisfaction, happiness, connection, and love. It's not true. If pursuing thinness and buying into beauty ideals works for you, great. If it doesn't, there is another way. And finally, from that phrase, you're promoting the O word. You should feel shame. And I don't, as weight is not a behavior. And even if it was, my body size is not wrong. It's just a normal way to have a body. Also, is existing promoting? Is existing in the world promoting? You know, like, I have dyed hair, right? Blonde hair. Am I promoting getting your hair bleached by being on the internet with blonde hair or walking around the streets with blonde hair? I don't think so. But I'm not saying, hey everyone, blonde hair, it's terrible, you know? And, you know, with the fat stuff, I am talking about fat stuff. So maybe if I was talking about blonde hair, maybe it is promoting. But here's the thing. What it boils down to, are you promoting the O word? In a nutshell, yeah. And what? And what? Really, yeah, and what? And we go back to all of those things. And what? What? I think that's bad. Why? Because fat people are bad. I don't believe that. Well, fat people are unhealthy. I don't think that that's a relevant tool to judge people by. I think that people who are fat and unhealthy, or straight size and unhealthy, also deserve dignity and respect. Do you not agree? No. I think we should shame fat people to get them to lose weight. Well, I don't think that works, and it's not aligned with my values. Well, it's aligned with mine. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't sound like we're a match to be friends, so this conversation is over. But yeah, you know, like, there's some talking points, but thing is, like, I would just say, yeah, I am. And what? And what they'll hear from, yeah, I am, and what is that I'm like, ha 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 ha. I think all fat people should die immediately. And in fact, we're going to recruit more fat people. Do you know what it's like? It's like the fat agenda. The fat agenda. We have this fat agenda that we're gonna get everyone into the fat clubhouse and force feed them, put pipes down their throats and force feed them and the people are like, please, I just want to exercise, and we're like, shut up, do not move from that couch, you better be watching Jerry Springer, and never letting them leave. And they're like, I just want to be thin, and we're like, you will never be thin again, not because you've met the fat agenda. We're just gonna make you fat. Like, that absolutely happens. Come to my house, you'll experience the fat agenda. Oh. But basically, fat liberation is, hey, hey, we think that fat people should have equality and be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of why they're fat, regardless if they're healthy or not, regardless if they behave in a way that you deem acceptable. It doesn't matter, right? So, I'm promoting the fat agenda. I need to get that on a t-shirt or something. Join me for the fat agenda, or the fat agenda is going to get you, or some sort of like fat agenda thing. Oh, maybe I should make that. Promoting the fat agenda. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. Okay, so last question is, I am non-binary and just had a baby. I'm struggling with body image and how weight gain happens in feminine places like the chest and hips. I'd like to see more images of androgynous looking people in fat bodies to help rewire my brain. I'm struggling with the, quote, ideal of androgyny being so thin, but when I've looked for other beautifully androgynous body types in the past, I've only found thin bodies. I was hoping you might have some accounts you could suggest that to follow. Yes. So this is a problem in the queer community, in the non-binary community. Is, of course, every community is experiencing anti-fat bias because, we all have brains, right? And we soak up that anti-fat bias. Sometimes we will try to stay close to privilege, our proximity to white supremacy as much as possible to show our worthiness. So people might say, with fat, I'm fat, but I'm healthy. I'm fat, but I'm fat in the right ways, or, I'm queer, but I'm thin. I'm queer, but I don't engage in all that silly, pronoun stuff. That's a bit much. So we do see a lot of that, and so that is fat phobia is a big issue in the queer community, unfortunately. And so visibility of androgynous or butch trans bodies is lacking. However, I got a list of 10 for you. I'm going to make an Instagram post about it. And so the links for all of these Instagram bios are going to be in the show notes. Let's scroll up. What episode is it? 164. fiercefatty.com/164. But I'm going to read them out to you in case you're like, I don't know, you want to get them right now and you're driving. Well, don't be driving and writing down these Instagram handles. But, okay. So Jordan Underwood. Instagram is Jorda, Jorda, LLEN Hall, HALL. Caleb Luna. Instagram is Dr. Chairbreaker. Love it. Comfy Fat Travels, Jay Aprilio. So Comfy Fat Travels. COMFY Fat Travels on the Instagrams. We just mentioned them today. Deshaun L. Harrison. And Deshaun's Instagram is DASHAUNLH. Brian Guffey. And you can find Brian and Black Queer IROH. Heart is under Trans Yoga Teacher. Nat DeFrank. You can find Nat DeFrank under Trans Fats 3XEDU. The non-binary Jennifer Coolidge. Trans.surrealness. Mateo Valentino Diaz. And you can find Mateo under Happy Fat Trans Man. So there you go. There you go. So seek it out. And here's the thing, like I was talking to my therapist about this. My therapist is trans too. And I'm trans non-binary. I was talking to my therapist. Sorry, I was just having a nice good face rub. Don't you just love a face rub? Talking about that, like fat distributing in places that are seen as more feminine. And so for fat people, it can be more difficult to embody transness as how it feels good for them, or androgyny or masculinity, because the fat distribution is in more, quote, feminine places. Well, you can take low dose hormones to move that fat around, is what my therapist told me. And so moving it away from your hips and your chest to your belly. Oh, giving you a nice little belly, or a big belly. Isn't that so fucking amazing? So that could be an option. We were talking about this before, like, is it fat phobia, or is it dysmorphia, body dysmorphia? And I don't know, I don't know. I've thought about this, and I don't know, but the thing is, body modification, whatever you choose to do to your body, whatever it is, if that feels aligned with you and you feel like it's going to make you happier, and, doesn't make you a bad person for choosing it, even if it does come from a place of fat phobia, anti-fatness, whatever. Because to live in this world as a fat person, as a trans person, as a person of color, an indigenous person, a disabled person, etc., can be really fucking difficult. And so if there is something that you can do that makes it easier for you to survive in this world, then you don't have to answer to anyone, And that goes too for people who engage in weight loss surgery or diets. Like, I get it. It's hard. So if at that time that is working for you, and I'm not comparing like weight loss surgery with, top surgery or whatever, but, totally different things. But if you're not able to work out, like, is it fat phobia or is it like trans stuff, I'd say don't stress too much, because so much stuff is intertwined that we might not ever be able to pick it apart. But we can have a think about it. Have a little think in our gorgeous little noggins, So that is the end of our questions today. Thank you for hanging out with me. If you enjoyed the show and you appreciate what I do, go to Ko-fi. Face Fatty, and you can find that in the show notes. Links to those Instagram accounts are in the show notes. And what else do I want to tell you? You're amazing. Oh, I got this book, Needy, by Mara Glatzel, and she sent me, because I had bought her book, and then I went to the launch, and then at the launch I won a copy of a book. Anyway, she signed a book, and she also sent me some other things. And the book is called Needy. She was actually on Summer Inna's podcast. That's where I found out about her. And she sent me some like cool stickers like Team Needy and Your Needs Matter and I Love Needy People, and some other things. But anyway, I love this idea of being needy, like, because I've struggled with this, like, just be chill, like, especially because I'm dating. Just be chill, if someone's like, oh, do you want to hang out? Do you want to come round? Is it okay if I smoke? And, chill. Oh yeah, I have no needs. Oh yeah, absolutely. You don't want to text me for 5 weeks? Yeah, so good. Obviously I don't accept that, but that urge too, to be like, I'm so chill. I have no needs. Oh, whatever you want. What do you want? Yeah, it's very hard to be needy, isn't it? The thing is, I do love needy people. And I love helping people out. And I think that's why I get on with my neighbours so much, is I ask them like, what can I do to help, and can I do this thing to help you out, like, look after the dogs, or in the last week I helped boost my neighbour's car twice, and you know what is I say to them, it boosts my self-esteem. If you have needs and I can help you, so you're doing me a favor, because then I can say on my podcast, I am such a good neighbor. I boosted their car twice. I wasn't planning on saying that, but anyway, it makes me feel good, and it makes other people feel good to meet my needs, right? And so I'm thinking about asking my neighbors to come around and help me with my rug, because it needs straightening out. I've got this really big rug and it's really thin, and it like kind of is not straight, but it's so big I can't straighten. And so I'm just gonna ask them to come around, give it a yank with me. And I bet you they will really appreciate that I have the vulnerability to ask for something, ask for help, and they help me. And they can go back to their apartment and be like, look at us, little helpers. We're helping our neighbours. We're improving communication and our relationship. Not that, I mean, I don't know, like, oh, I'm such a great person. I'm just helping people out with giving them my needs, telling them my needs. But I mean, it is great. And I think about, when someone comes around your house, and imagine if you had someone around your house and they were cold and they were hungry and they were thirsty, but they didn't want to say anything because they didn't want to be needy. You would be like, oh my goodness, tell me. Are you thirsty? Are you hungry? Are you warm enough? What can I get? Do you need some slippers? Do you want a cuddle? Because it feels good to do that stuff for other people, right? So I have to keep reminding myself, because I feel like, and I talk to my neighbours about this, we both talk about it, like being like, oh, we feel like such a nuisance, we feel like a piece of shit, like, oh, we're taking advantage of people. And actually both my neighbours that I help out, they both say that, like, oh, we don't want to take advantage. And then I'm feeling the same, like, because it's an equal balance of me getting things from them and vice versa, of like not wanting to be a burden. And I think that we should stop that silliness. Just be needy. Be a needy ass motherfucker. Because if you are, I love you for it. I love you for it. All right. Well, you go off, be needy, be lazy, be fat, be fabulous. You just go out and be you, whoever you are. And we'll see you in the next podcast episode. See you later. Bye.